Hey everybody, it's Josie. Welcome back to Cedar Creek Homestead. I hope you guys have had a wonderful day. This is probably about the third time I've recorded this video, and if I get to the end of it and it hasn't worked right, I'm calling it off for the night. I'll just say it wasn't meant to be. My camera that I normally use has died, and so I went into Howie's camera equipment and found one of his GoPros. An older GoPro, and I got the batteries charged up and had to read about how to use it, and then I started making the video and thought I had it done, put it on the computer to edit, and there wasn't anything there. So I'm going to try one more time to do this, and I hope it all works out. Well, it has been a beautiful day, and the calves have been out running and playing, enjoying the sunshine. Foxy's been out sunning himself, and all the other animals are really enjoying it being warmer. And it is warmer here in Oklahoma. We didn't get the storms. They were calling for some thunder showers last night, and for me, I didn't get the thunder showers. Now, some other areas might have gotten them. I did not. It was a little bit foggy this morning, but the sun has shone all day today. I had to go out and do a little bit of work. My fencing, some of my electric fencing wasn't working, and we couldn't figure out why. And I just happened to be talking to Blade, my son, on the phone, and he said, "Well, yeah, Mom, I forgot to tell you, I took the cord off, the extension cord off, and he had used it." And I said, "Well, where's it at? I need to put it back on there." And he said, "Well, it's in my truck." So needless to say, I had to go get another power cord and get that all fixed, but that wasn't any big deal. And so then I came in to make this video and spend a little bit of time with you guys. And I thought tonight that I would just take a little bit of time to encourage your hearts. And we know that we all need a little bit of encouragement with all that's going on in the world, and you know, something to lift our spirits. And I was thinking about where we are and how people have viewed the prepping community for a long time. Now, several years back, I'd say, I don't know, 4 or 5 at least, there were shows on that dealt with the prepping community. And they had a lot of interesting information on there. But they also had people on there that got way out in left field on some of their things. And what that did was that opened up the prepping community to people laughing and poking fun and not really taking what we were really trying to do seriously. Now, there are people out there that are, you know, they march to the beat of a different drum, and you just have to take them with a grain of salt. But there are those of us that are simply trying to look well to the ways of our households, like I preach, and trying to make sure that we've got the products and the resources that we need for our families in case there was ever any kind of life-changing event. And you guys know that those of you that follow a lot of channels on YouTube, you know that comes from Danny and Wanda down at Deep South Homestead. They say life-changing events, and they're correct. We have life-changing events. And it's not always what's going on right now with all of that war and the no matter what side you're on, the scared tactics and the things that we hear about the germ warfare and the different types of bombs and all of the things that are really fearful right now. And then you see those people and what they're going through. Yes, that could be. And for them, that's a very real thing right now. And those of us that are, I would say from my age groups, we don't really know what it's like, at least in our country, in the U.S., to really worry about taking shelter and having the bomb practices and things, because they didn't do that for us. We had fire. We practiced for fires and we practiced for tornadoes where I was at. Some of you in other parts of the country probably had earthquake practices. We didn't, because we didn't have earthquakes where we were at. But those things, those fears are coming up now in people. What would we do? And we've been through 2 years of a pandemic, and we've seen all the shutdowns and things, and all the lives that were lost, the people, me included, that were affected by the loss of somebody to that horrible disease. And in the back of our minds, that fear is there that if some of that biological warfare stuff was used, what would that open us up to again? What would that expose us to? And all of that kind of stuff is there. But regardless of all that stuff, the life-changing events could be everyday things like losing a job, losing a spouse or a child or whomever, having a long-term sickness. A lot of us that had the virus are still going through some things that we're not quite like we were. Long-term, I think they call it long-term COVID or I don't know. Anyway, I still have some effects in my lungs just a little bit, and I've heard other people say they have some things. And so there's life-changing events that happen for all of us. Well, I was thinking about the people that have been on the phrase, the scoffers, the ones that laugh, the ones that sit back with their arms crossed and are just waiting for those of us that are preparing for them to say, I told you, it won't amount to anything. And I have to be honest and say, if I've prepared and nothing happens and I should leave this world, if I should pass on from this life, and my children are left with a well-stocked pantry and first aid and water supply and all that stuff, well then nothing's been lost. I enjoyed my time preparing for my family. And although I might not have gotten to see them really take advantage of those supplies, they were still able to use them had that scenario come up. I'm hoping that a lot of the people that have been back in the phrase and pointing fingers and laughing are now beginning to realize that, hey, wait a minute, maybe they were onto something. And maybe you're one of those people tonight that are listening. And I don't want to condemn you. I don't want to say, well, now what do you think? I want to say I'm glad you're here. And I'm glad that you're considering preparing for your family and looking well to the ways of your household. Now, I'll be honest with you. You don't have as much time to prepare, it seems like, as what you did, several years back. Because it's upon us now, things that we're seeing in the other countries, and the grain prices and the oil prices and all of this stuff. All of this stuff. But what I would say is I want to encourage your heart to start. Just start. Make you a list. I say this all the time. Make a list of the things that you know that your family would use. Eating, your health and beauty products, your first aid products, most importantly, water. Make sure that you have all of those things. For those of you that live in areas that might have to leave your home, you might also consider some things to keep in your vehicles or keep somewhere in your home that you can just grab a bag and go. Think about those people that are being evacuated right now, that are having to leave their homes. I've watched them on the news, and I've seen them with their babies or their elder parents or their animals that they have them on a leash. Some people are carrying their animals. And I was amazed at how many of them, bless their hearts, are carrying those plastic bags full of some of their supplies and some of their goods, just the things that they could grab. And I caught myself thinking about, boy, it'd have been nice to have had a backpack to strap on your back where you could have your hands free to, move around all of that other stuff. It behooves us to think about scenarios and situations and pray to God that we never have to use them. But these poor people are. And we need to consider all of our ways. So make a list of the things that you need and then start. I would advise, build a little fire under yourself and start picking some things up. Start, learning to do some skills, learning to can, learning to garden. And go ahead and get the supplies that you think you're going to need, because everybody's in the same boat and everybody is working on purchasing those things. And, I wouldn't just get garden things and not worry about filling your pantry. I would go ahead and try to do some pantry and some garden if you're going to be able to garden. And the next thing that I think that we need to consider is being part of a community. Now, those of you that go to church know that your church body, your family, your church family is very important. It's a community of believers. But the people around you that you live around can also be some of your greatest assets. Now, I was thinking about my preparations and the things that I have put away. And I've put away for me and for my family, and my son and his wife and my grandson, and those to come on down the road, other grandchildren. And, my in-laws are here, and Howie's family's here. Now, my family's in Arkansas and Louisiana, and I have a brother and sister-in-law and little niece up in Minnesota, so I've been thinking about those that might possibly have to come this direction. We don't know what the future holds. They may never have to, but I've been feeling this in my heart that I need to prepare more than just my small household. Then I really need to prepare a little bit more. Maybe I need to have more that I could help a young mother with her little children. Maybe my household now, I do have a small grandson, a 4-month-old grandson. So there are things here. There's bottles and diapers and medications and Pedialyte and all that kind of stuff. But maybe you should pick up some things and have back just in case you could help some young mother, or some coloring books and things that would help a small child to decompress when they're surrounded by all the stressful things. I was thinking about when I was a kid, we didn't go on vacation. There just simply wasn't any money to go on vacation. But one thing that we did do is visit with friends. And my parents have had a group of friends that they would go to their house and play cards and games and stuff. And of course, all of us kids had to go. And other times they would go and they would have, like the men were going to cut wood and put up a bunch of wood for the different ones that burned wood. And maybe the women were going to get together and the guys butchered some hogs. And I've been to where an all day they ground up a bunch of sausage and took a whole day to put up all this sausage. There was a bunch of it. And just different events that we went to like that. And we usually stayed the night. Now, us kids, besides, the parents finding things and telling us go here and go here and do that, or watch over the little kids, that was usually one of my jobs. We also played our little hearts out. And at the end of the day, when we all got cleaned up after supper, got our baths, we didn't care if there was beds. They'd lay pallets out on the floor, and we would lay on the floor and just laugh and giggle till we fell asleep there with our cousins or our friends, whoever we happened to be with. And that was some of the best times. But I wondered how we would do today, because we're so separated from one another, how we would do with community and having to do that. We always have to ask that question, what if that happened here? It's happening in other areas. You see it over there where all of that stuff's going on. You see where people are coming and they're picking up families and taking them home with them. I don't even know for sure if they even speak the same language. Perhaps they do. but taking these people in and letting them have their spare room. And I thought, how would we do over here? It makes me think of the Waltons. I loved the Waltons when I was a kid. Who am I kidding? I still love the Waltons. And it made me think of my family a lot. Different time period, of course, but grandparents, parents, and kids all there together. Now, my grandparents didn't live in the same house, but they were right there. And there were 7 of us kids at one time under a roof. I have more brothers than that, but there were 7 of us that grew up together. And there was always something going on. I thought of this episode that they had. Now you remember they were into the Depression times, and the story goes through World War II and on out. But in the Depression times, and they were having it rough, making ends meet for their family, but they were doing it all right, and they were honest and hardworking. And if some of their family came to visit, the man and the woman and their son, and the man and the son were thieves, and they stole from the grocery, and they did different things, and then they got the kid got one of the girls to smoke with him, and just all kinds of different things. But I thought about that. I thought, what would you do if you had some of your family come and stay with you, and how would you be able to provide for them? Now, the Waltons, of course, I know it's a made-up story, but they didn't blink. They were able to stretch and make sure there was plenty of food for everybody, and they just made it all go around. So I was very, very fortunate to have a very strong and close-knit family. And but I wonder how we would be today. We don't write letters today. It seems like people don't know how, if we don't text one another, we don't really stay in contact and communication with one another. But there might be coming a day that we have to do that. So I think that all of us need to continue to work, and we need to continue to put things back, and maybe perhaps a little bit extra. Those of you that are new to this, listen, there are all kinds of people on YouTube that are willing to teach. They have been teaching, and you can get on there and you can learn all kinds of beneficial things. Whatever your interest is, they can teach you to can, and they can teach you to garden. There's people on there that'll teach you first aid. They'll teach you some hunting skills and other skills that go along those lines. There's all kinds of things that can be beneficial to you. Well, guys, we've come to a place where those of us that have been prepping and preparing for some time, we've come to a place where we don't seem so silly anymore. And I don't want to be one of those that point my finger and say, I told you so. I want to make sure that I'm helping others to prepare. Now that they've come out from that, now that they realize that there might be a sense of urgency to this, I want to be a help. And I hope that you will be too. That you won't be smug or, above them, but that you'll lend a helping hand. It's going to take us all to make it. And we need to make sure that we're loving one another, and that we're doing all that we can to look well to the ways of our household, and to encourage others, and make sure that we have our hearts right with Jesus. I hope I said something to you tonight that might encourage you to get busy, if you haven't been, on preparing and making a way for your family, looking well to the ways of your household. And those of us that have been, to continue doing so. Be looking out for those people that are going to need a helping hand, and be prepared if they come along. We don't know what the future holds in a lot of ways, and it might just get back to the days where there's more than just you and your spouse and your children in your household. It may be an extended family. My granny and grandpa lived with grandpa's mom and daddy for several years before they were able to move out on their own and start living in their own home with their children. And that's just the way things were done then. Now, that may not happen at all, but we better be prepared just in case. I like studying the Amish and the Mennonite. And one thing that really impressed me about them is their understanding of community. Now, what they'll do is someone is in need or somebody has a harvest come in of whatever it is. Let's say peaches, for example. So at peach harvest, they would gather all the peaches in, and some of the ladies from the community, probably all the ladies from the community, would usually come and have a work frolic, and they would work and get all the peaches put up. Now, they might be able to take peaches, each of them, home with them, but if not, they would leave the peaches for that lady in her household, and then the next thing that came up, somebody else might have something else come up that they need help with, and they all go and they work at that person's place. Somebody might have need of a barn being built or something. It might have burned down, or they got married and they're going to build a big new barn, and all of the people come out. The men and the boys, they build. The young boys, they learn how to drive nails, and with the elders looking over them and teaching them how to do it. And the ladies are all there working up the big tables full of food, and the young girls carrying water out to the men and the boys. They work together, and they understand that community, and they understand that they're stronger together. And that is what I'm trying to get at. As people are becoming aware that they really need to get busy and get started working and doing those things, the rest of us need to rally around them and encourage them. Keep working ourselves, keep doing our thing, but encourage them in what they're doing and be willing to teach them the things that we know. It's not a secret. We need to teach them. The better off they are, then they're going to be able to help others. We all want community of workers. Nobody wants to be the little red hen all by herself, doing all the work and doing all the gardening and all the harvesting, all the baking of the bread, and then everybody else wanting to take slices of the bread. We want a community where we can all come together and we can make bread for everybody. Well, guys, I hope I said something tonight to encourage your hearts. Something light, something to lift your spirits, something to encourage you on your way. Until next time, guys, this is Josie. I love you. I really do. We're gone.